السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
If you want, you can take off the mask by giving the khutbah so that the voice doesn't get muffled. If you are comfortable, okay. This should be good.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، وقال الله تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. We begin with the praise of Allah upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Glorified is He, Almighty is He. And we send peace and blessings and salutations on our beloved Nabi, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. My dear respected brothers and sisters, our religion of Islam is a complete way of life. It not only taught us how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best possible way and to show our gratitude to Him with fixed rituals that we complete in order to obey His commandments and worship Him in the best way. It not only taught us how to fulfill these actions according to the way that He is pleased, but it also taught us how to live as a family, how to live as a community, and how to live as a society at large so that we can become one ummah. And today I want to talk about this idea of how if we all stick together and help each other out, whether that is at an individual level, one person helping another, or at the family level, one family helping another family, or at the community level, one community helping another community, and whether that is financially, spiritually, emotionally. When we are to do this, we can reach our absolute potential as an ummah. And supporting each other from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us will never decrease us in what we have. Oftentimes, we see communities, they might be battling against each other. Or they think that by supporting this other community, that something will be taken away from us. Or as individuals, when we are at work, when we are with our colleagues, we think that maybe by helping this person, something might be taken away from us. When we are with our families and we think, if I make this sacrifice to drop this person off, my sister needed a ride, my father needed some help, that somehow it's going to take something away from us. A perfect example is a son is studying and his father or mother asks him for help. He has an exam coming up. The next day, it's a huge exam. And his mother or father requests for some help for 10, 15 minutes. Beta, can you help me? And the son is thinking to himself, I really can't. This is an exam that is coming up and it's going to be difficult. If I was to give up these 10, 15 minutes away to help somebody else, then it's going to take away 10, 15 minutes away from my studying. This is the mentality that we have. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, and we'll talk about this in later, that anything that we do to help others does not decrease from what we have. And so starting with the idea of connecting together as individuals, as communities, and as an ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. And hold firmly to the rope of Allah all together and do not become divided. And remember the favor of Allah upon you when you were enemies and He brought your hearts together and you became by His favor ikhwana. You became brothers and sisters in Islam. And the narration narrated by Abu Musa radiallahu ta'ala anh in Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, a believer to another believer is like a building whose different parts enforce each other. The Prophet ﷺ then clasped his hands with his fingers, interlaced while saying that. And this idea that we are all connected, that we all lay the foundations to a society. Each of us is like a brick holding up that building. And when we're together, we stand firm and strong. Buildings that aren't standing up today were ones that were weak. Communities that aren't standing up today, individuals who have maybe left Islam, a'udhu billah, were part of communities where it was weak. They weren't integrated within the society. They didn't have that structure holding them up and grassrooting them. And in another narration, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, the parable of the believers in their affection and mercy and compassion for each other is that of a body. When any limb aches, the whole body reacts with sleeplessness and fever. And the idea here is that when one person is hurting, when one person is in pain, then the rest of the ummah can feel it. Just like when you stub your toe and it's really aggressive, the pain isn't just in your toe. You can't eat, you can't sleep at night. It's going everywhere, shooting throughout your leg, all to your brain. And it's all connected. And in the same way, as Muslims, we're sitting here, individuals sitting down, socially distanced, alhamdulillah, but we're all still together. And if one person was to feel a pain, we should recognize that pain and try to help that brother. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anh, the Prophet ﷺ said, and this is a long narration, but there's a lot to take from it. Whoever removes a worldly grief from a believer, Allah will remove from him one of the griefs of the day of resurrection. And whoever alleviates the need of a needy person, Allah will alleviate his needs in this world and the hereafter. And whoever shields or hides the misdeeds of a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shield him in this world and the hereafter. And this is something that is beautiful in our tradition, where we think that by helping somebody else out, again, we have a framework of mind that somehow we're losing out. Somehow we're giving up our opportunity. But rather, that help that you're able to give and provide to somebody else is an opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented in front of you. And in this narration, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the Prophet ﷺ, gives us clear guidance on how the equation works. What is the framework that we should have? Whoever removes a grief, a worldly grief from another believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove a grief for that person on the Day of Judgment. It brings into the reality that this world isn't the only thing that we live for. There is something beyond this world, something beyond the next exam that we need to take as students. Something beyond what we have in this world. There's something beyond that. And that is the world of the afterlife, where the griefs of the afterlife will be so much so that you will forget about anything that you experienced in this world. So why not follow the equation to overcome and help somebody else with their grief, so that on the Day of Judgment, Allah will alleviate a grief of your own. Whoever alleviates the need of a needy person, Allah will alleviate his needs in this world and in the hereafter. So now the equation is a little bit to the next level. Not just the griefs of the akhirah will be taken care of, but if we are to support those in need today, somebody who needs your time, somebody who needs your wealth, somebody who needs something from you, and you are to give it to them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in this equation now that not only will you get something in the hereafter, but you'll get something immediately as well. We are being told by the Prophet ﷺ that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He understands our nature. As human beings, it is our nature to want something immediately. Immediate satisfaction, the immediate gratification that we need, and we've kind of been trained even more so in the society due to social media and other things. We're looking for immediate gratification, immediate response. If we text somebody, we want to text back. If we help somebody, we can get help back. If we help somebody who is in need, we are being told that our needs for this world will also be taken care of, and our needs for the hereafter will be taken care of. And whoever shields or hides the misdeeds of a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shield him in this world and in the hereafter. And this is something that we can work on a societal level, and a little side tangent, but a lot of problems in today's society have come across by gossip and rumors, by spreading ill thoughts about somebody to somebody else. And what that does is you say, hey, this person was doing such and such thing. Did you know that this sheikh or this, honorable person, he was engaged in this activity. He was speaking to such and such person. And we see these things and we start to spread it like wildfire. We don't think for a moment, let us shield this person, whatever thing that they might be doing. And it might be a reality, that it's a fact that they're engaging in this. But we don't think for a moment that let us shield the honor and the integrity of this person, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can shield our honor and integrity on the Day of Judgment. If you were to imagine the things that you have done in this world, on a private level, being exposed on the Day of Judgment, how sick would that make you feel? I know personally, how sick would that make me feel? And if, simply put, you do something where you shield the sins of another believer or the misdeeds of another believer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shield the misdeeds in this world and the hereafter for yourself. And towards the end of this beautiful tradition, the Prophet ﷺ he closes off with something that is so beautiful and we should keep in mind and memorize and keep in the back of our heads. He says, and Allah will aid his slave, his servant, you and I, as long as he aids his brother. And in easy words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you as long as you help others. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are being told, will help us, will help his servant as long as we aid and help our brother. And the first reaction should be, now listening to this tradition, this beautiful narration by the Prophet ﷺ, the first reaction should be, how can I contribute? How can I help the Muslim Ummah? And we all have the opportunity, different scenarios where different people are asking us for help throughout the day. Our mothers are coming to us, our fathers are coming to us, our family members are coming to us, our siblings are approaching us. Can you help me with this homework? Can you help me with this chore around the house? Can you wash the dishes for me, son? We are being approached by different people in the community who need our help. They are asking us, can you lend us a place to stay? Can you lend us a hand with our car? And so there's no shortage of opportunity. But the idea is that we have to change our mindset. When we listen to these opportunities that are being presented to us, are we thinking of them as a burden on us, coming in the way of our routine, coming in the way of our fixed schedule that we have? And it's not to say that we shouldn't have a schedule. The Prophet ﷺ, he had a routine, he had a schedule. But there were things that were outside of that needed to be addressed. And one such example is the wahi that was given to the Prophet ﷺ. It didn't come on a schedule. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say at 3 o'clock, you will be receiving the revelation, to be prepared. It was an opportunity that came to him as it came to him when it came to him. Whether he was sitting on the lap of his beloved Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha and the revelation would come. Whether he was sitting on his mount and the revelation would come. It wasn't at a fixed time. It wasn't something that he could prepare for. And so in such a similar way, opportunities have come to us and they come and go, and they aren't coming at the most ideal time for us. We might be struggling with our time because we have an exam tomorrow and our mother asks us. We might be struggling financially, but a brother asks us. We might be struggling financially, but a community asks of us. We might be struggling emotionally. Something could have happened in our lives. A loved one could have passed away. But a community member is in need of your du'as because a loved one of his also passed away. We might be preoccupied with our own struggles, but it doesn't mean we can take advantage of the opportunities that are being presented to us, around us, and they're through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we are to engage in those opportunities, we are told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us. If we help those in need, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us. Will help us in this world and here in the hereafter. One of the analogies that I heard from our teachers, and this relates particularly to wealth, is the idea that we have to be distributors of our wealth. And you can look at this in the context of time as well. We have to be distributors of the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Allah is the supplier. We are simply the distributors. We have whatever wealth we have, whatever time we have, is supplied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In an instant, He could take it away from us. And when we recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the supplier, then it is up to us to distribute that wealth. Just like how being in Detroit, we're coming from Philadelphia, so being in Detroit, you have GM, General Motors. They're producing and manufacturing things to send out to distributors. They're supplying these tools, these parts to distributors. If there was a distributor who, after a week, has not sold anything, will GM come back to them and give them more? Whereas on the other hand, you have a distributor who you can imagine ran out of their stock within a few weeks. GM will come. They will come back within that couple of weeks and give them more. Maybe they'll give them double. And in the same way, and there's no comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are told that when we help others, when we give from our time, when we give from our wealth, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises to give us back. When we distribute that wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fill it back. He will stock us up again. He'll stock us up with our time. And when we think of time, whatever minute that we've given away, we can't get back. La, that's the mentality the student will have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give in a way that is beyond the time, our understanding of time that we can imagine. He will give in a way where your time is filled with barakah, where you're able to study to an extent and an ease that you can never imagine before, because you helped your mother, you helped your father with this chore that they so desperately needed you to do, and you were short on time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put that into place and make all the ends meet, and will finish all the touches that we are so concerned about on a day-to-day basis. And so before we close, I just want to make mention that alhamdulillah, we are coming from the Philadelphia community. We're coming from the suburbs of Philadelphia on behalf of the Khair Community Center. And we've been around for 10 years, leasing an office space to hold Islamic studies, to hold a full-time Islamic school, to hold a full-time Hifz program. And we are ready to move on. And construction has started in our facility so that we can move in to this location, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, by the start of Ramadan. And so we are looking to finish this with your support and everybody's support, inshallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this community, to help this community with the expansion that it needs, to help this community grow and reach its full potential so that we can maximize ourselves as an ummah, and we can help each other as the Muslim ummah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He bless everybody sitting here, and He reward us for the intentions that we have, and He reward us for the work that we do. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون أقم الصلاة